Welcome to the Empowerment Show with Melissa Heisler. Every week, discover new personal choices with practical, inspiring guides. And now, here's Melissa.
Well, welcome to the Empowerment Show. I'm Melissa Heisler, Empowerment Coach at It's My Life, and it is your life. Live it. Today, I'm thrilled to be talking to Joie Gharrity from number 113 Branding about successful professional pitches. So welcome to the show, Joie.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you for having me.
I am thrilled to have you. And you were on here before last year, and I had you back because I love talking to you about the mix between business and the spiritual and really getting to, and we were talking a little bit off air about this, about how one brand, it's not something you put on or just create, but it's actually getting to your true self.
Yeah, so part of my motto is know thyself, and that's knowing your brand, because your brand is just an extension of who you are. It's really, yes, logos and banners and websites are absolutely essential and incredibly important. It's a big part of branding, and I also, I do that. That's a big segment in my company, but really what I do with clientele is I help them to dial down on their true passion and brand, and if they have a business currently, how we can expand on that, but by knowing what's going to make them happy first.
Well, exactly, and I agree with you completely. A lot of work that I do on a personal level with individuals or with business startups is getting them to understand who it is that they are and what's going to make them happy, versus going towards, well, everybody's making a lot of money as lawyers these days. I'm going to be a lawyer. And, there may be a major disconnect between professions or businesses or what have you. And I think it's so important to have it be important to yourself and in alignment with yourself, or it won't be successful or won't be pleasing at least.
Yeah, and you can't get it to a certain level. Certainly there's people out there definitely getting it to a certain level, but they might start seeing that they're hitting with that glass ceiling and they can't quite push through it again. But knowing yourself at a deeper level will translate into your brand. So after I got back from the entertainment business, I did a good year and a half of really, really deep self-discovery, and it is what led me to my business today. I always knew that I wanted to be a director. As a matter of fact, I did direct, and I did it because I thought I was supposed to. That's what my mentors were doing. And though I was able to complete that project, and it was such a big part of my journey, it fell apart after a while because it really wasn't what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to do that. And it's because I wasn't in touch with who I really was and my needs and my wants. And so when I started doing the meditations and doing more of the self-discovery work, my brand, the number 113 branding, started landing for me. Before that, it was very confusing. I was conflicting a lot. I didn't know if I should take a right or a left, or if what I should build next, or how to explain what I did. And as I continue until die, clearly, as I continue to expand on really the self-discovery work, my brand continues to grow, and I'm a greater and bigger service for my clients.
And I'm so glad that you shared your story, because I know I've gone through this as a business owner as well, of trying to, you get these clever names or pitches or taglines, and then you try to wear them and try to make it work for you. And it's always from the inside out, that it's already there once you step into it, but you may not see it because you're trying to pull stuff in from the outside.
Yeah, and I think it's just natural. I think it's just human nature for us to look around and say, okay, that might be a good fit for me. I'm going to go after that. But the best and the best branding is knowing your unique self and leveraging that and putting that out first. That will give you more leverage in the marketplace and help people to identify you and why they want to work with you. So it's being unique, and that is what Hollywood really taught me. Yes, they do Rocky Fives, et cetera, et cetera. But there was a Rocky One, and that was that was a game changer, right? Star Wars was a game changer.
Right.
Always for unique and interesting ways of approaching themselves. And from a personal and professional point of view down there, they also teach that right away too. How are you going to leverage yourself in a room, and how are you going to be interesting and unique?
And let's talk. Is that what you're talking about as far as what a professional pitch is? Can you tell us a little bit about what that pitch is and who needs one and why they need it?
Sure. So everyone needs one, no matter what. I have people who are like, part of the reason that they don't enjoy going to a networking event is because they're like, I just hate it when people ask me what I do, because I know I'm really good at what I do. They're all like, but I don't know how to explain it. And I'm like, okay, well that's a pitch. And down there, whether we all want to believe it or not, I mean, we're all salespeople, and I will have clients say, no, I hate sales. And I was like, well, then you don't like what you're doing. Because you have to allow people to see you in order to know that why they want to work with you. So everyone is pitching all the time, all day long. I know this is kind of it's a strange word, especially in the Bay Area. They hate this word pitch. I'm like, okay, well, we can call it whatever you want it, but I call it a pitch. So yes. But the difference about the way that I learned how to pitch down there and the way we're going to talk about pitching up here, what I brought up here, is that.
And you mean from Hollywood to?
Hollywood, yes.
Yeah.
What I ask from my 5-step pitch system is that people first start by describing their title. And let's talk a little bit about that. So titles up here are the coach title, for instance, that there it is oversaturated.
Right.
And a bit. And there's also a trust aspect that's coming around it nowadays, because I've heard this countless times where people say, well, everyone is calling themselves a coach, so everyone's a coach. So what I ask from people is, I'm like, it's okay if you say that you're a coach, and that's fine, but please also elaborate what type of coach you are right off the bat. Or let's look at other ways of how you can be leveraging what you really do. I was talking with a woman the other day at a speaking engagement, and she was calling herself an empowerment coach. And when I really understood what she did, is I said to her, I said, I don't think you're not an empowerment coach. I go, that feels very, very spiritual. Do you twist and incorporate a lot of the spiritual teachings into what you do? She goes, no, not at all. I want to talk about business. I said, okay. then what I would reframe that is that you're a business strategist.
Right.
She's an influencer. She's really helping people with their business strategy. And she was like, game changer. And I'm like, absolutely. Because your initial title of empowerment coach, you're probably magnetizing or bringing in not your ideal client, because they were expecting something totally different, and there's where the trust factor comes into play. So I ask people to be very, very, very specific.
I think that's a great point, and we were talking about this as well. As I've gone through a couple different titles, and I'm not happy with the coach title either. But the right one has not emerged yet for me, but I know it's out there. But I think it's so important for a few reasons to get that title right. The example you gave was that person was missing talking to their target. If they approached me and just said they were an empowerment coach, there's no way I would have thought of them for business. The correlation was completely gone.
Exactly, and that's the thing. That's the magic behind your pitch, is that you're drumming a drum, and you're drumming in your ideal clientele. And that's what's going to make you a happier business entrepreneur owner. We both know, we've probably in our careers have worked with with clients that weren't a right fit for us. And so what happened for us in our company when that was happening?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what happened to me. Dun, dun, dun. I was very unhappy. I was like, it was torture for me to show up for my client. And I had to really take a look at that. So last year, what was happening for me is I was calling myself a brand consultant. And what people kept trying to do is try to push me into becoming an ad agency. And that's what was happening is I was becoming an ad agency. And I was doing I was doing taglines and key branding, and it was great. I was doing videos like for for mass market. And I had to sit down with myself and I had to take a real look at that. And I said, you know what, Joey, if that was really in your alignment, then you might as well go back to Hollywood. So what drum are you drumming that's pulling in that type of ideal client for you? And what I realized is I was like, hold on a second. I'm like, I am a brand strategist. There's a big difference between the two. I strategize for people, and I have a system that strategizes specifically for high-level women entrepreneurs. That's not an ad agency. That's not a factory. It's all very customized what I do. So the minute I changed it from brand strategist, I say I'm a brand strategist. I'm also a social media influencer. I know a lot about social media because I started a startup for Disney, and I can influence online. And last, I'm a speaker. So when people ask me, what do? I lead with that. I say I'm a brand strategist. See, that helps them hook into what I really do, and I'm calling in my ideal client. I'm a social media influencer, which I'm really proud of. And finally, I'm a speaker. And that opens up opportunities where people are like, wow, I have an event. Why don't you come speak?
Right. And I want to get into the next steps after really defining the target. But something you said was interesting, that you work with professional women. So it's or high-powered women, I think is the word that you use. So it's much more than just business owners or having your own business. It's also being able to have that brand for yourself in corporate America as well, and knowing who that is, or do you work more with entrepreneurs?
I only work with entrepreneurs.
You do? Okay.
I was working, and when I say high level, I just mean this. I mean, they have to have some foundation of business. My system works so beautifully with someone that's been in business for at least 3 years or more.
Okay.
So that's my ideal client. But I was working with high level professionals within the corporate world, and not that I didn't enjoy it, because I really did, but they just ended up not being my ideal client because they're really handcuffed by the corporate world. They can only do so much. And what I do strategically wise is also very creative in regards to the expansion. So there's too many limitations on that. But entrepreneurs like yourself, Melissa, who are in business and who are being of service to the world. And I don't mean it has to be nonprofit. I just mean that they're very clear about that this is more than just making money. Money is a huge factor. Otherwise, it's a hobby. And I mean, clearly we're all businesses. But that they really have something that they want to say and they want to be of service to others.
Which is great. I think going back to those people starting from the heart, those people have a big heart story that they want to tell. So you start them out and get clarity around what's their title and then how do they want to express themselves in that title to attract the right people. What are the other 4 steps that you go through?
So step 2 is that leverage your past. Talk about your past. I will have clients that literally have left out 30 years of their past experience, and they're only 3 years in the company. And I'm like, so 3 years. If you're saying to a potential client or at a networking event or even a speaking event, I've only been in business for 3 years. What do you think happens to the audience? They're going to lose trust. They're like, oh, you haven't been doing this long. I need someone that's been doing this 15, 20 years, sister. I need help, But leveraging your past and talking about, I start with, I have over 15 years experience in entertainment business. I utilize my creative and business strategy that I learned down there, and I've implemented it into my business. this starts supporting the brand and my expertise right off the bat immediately. Oh, and I've only been in business for 2 years, but I'm getting great success rates. That's okay because it's supported it with my past.
And I think yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point. My story with that is when I left theater and started to go into corporate world, I hid that I did theater. And it finally clicked to me that, well, I was a stage manager. I managed projects. I managed people. I had budgets. I had to deal with conflicts. I had to make sure it happened on time. There were so many skills that I had in that area that I hid because I didn't think the label would work in a different realm. So I think it's really important to look at your expertise and what you've had and be able to translate it into how it helps your current business.
It really is, and by the way, it makes you more three-dimensional, right? It's interesting. It opens up a conversation with you immediately. Like, the minute you told me that, I'm like, really? I'm like, oh my God, we're so like-minded. We have a lot in common. We could talk hours and hours and hours and hours now. Okay, I've emotionally connected with you because you shared that with me. But it also tells me she's got a really beautiful bandwidth past. So it makes sense with what she's doing now. And it's going to give you that leverage. I was talking to another participant attendee at a keynote of mine, and she was telling me that she was a healthcare coach, and I was like, okay, great. And she was talking about it, and I said, you know what did you do in your past? Because you haven't mentioned it. She goes, oh, I was a nurse for 20 years, but that doesn't matter. And I was like, yeah, that's like, of course that's what you're doing today because it's all part of the journey. So it's building blocks. So I just want people to really think about that and to be proud. I will have clients say to me, well, the reason I don't want to mention it is because I feel like I failed. I said, you did not fail. It was just getting you ready for standing here now in this spotlight.
I think that's a really great point because and there's a great, and I don't know what the facts are now, but, our parents or grandparents used to have one job for their entire lifetime. And now I think the statistics are that there'll be the 3 to 5 different careers that Gen X will have. It's not just different jobs, it's different careers that they'll have. And so it's a whole different mindset that you're getting those building blocks, as you said, to make you into who you are, to at the pinnacle be able to use all of these tools to help others.
How exciting for them. Really. I've had only 2 careers really in my life, and when I get to hear that other generations are going to have 3 or 4, they're going to be so expansive, so many tools and techniques for them. Yeah, it's quite exciting.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, so keep that in mind. So and leverage that. And then step 3 is it's talking about your process. What do you really how when someone works with you, how are they going to really be working with you? You really want to get clear with people right away, because it's the unclarity, it's the fuzziness that you could lose a client in a room. They might not see you. Your ideal client might not see you because they don't understand how you work with people. So I immediately tell people, listen, I have this unique branding business strategy system that I've created from my techniques and tools from the entertainment business. And from there, I deliver when I do an intake, and after that, I deliver 25 to 30 page detailed document to you. And then we go over it together. You're going to be safe. I want to executive produce you and direct you throughout our program. That's my ideal client. That's who I'm looking for. And that there's a vessel that I've created that's a proven system that's going to get you from point A and get you the results that we're talking about right now. So immediately tell people your process and how you work.
Right, and I think that's different. A lot of the individuals that I work sometimes with business, or just seeing them at networking groups, they'll say, well, and I work with a lot of healers, so, well, I'm a Reiki practitioner, or I'm this, or I'm that, and that's their expertise, but it doesn't get to what their process is. You know, if they're doing Reiki, if they're doing acupuncture, how does it blend together? How do they use it to help, you know, who are they helping and how are they using it?
Yeah, and again, that's their title. That's why you start with that. Oh, okay, I've heard about that. And recently I've heard about it a lot, and people keep recommending that's something I should look into working with someone. Okay, you've hooked me. But now I need to understand like more about it so that I feel like I can trust you. So I will have clients say to me, yeah, but you know, how I work with people, it's a lot of intuitive. I'm like, well, you can keep doing that. And I'm like, but it's gonna start and stop your business all the time. That's not a business.
Well, and I think the thing is that they don't realize that the intuitive is giving them the process. And that's been my own experience as well. That's why it's taken me so long to get to this point and be able to work with you, which I'm blessed to have. But it's taken me that time to go, oh, you know what? I keep doing this worksheet with someone. I keep doing this. I keep doing that. And actually finding my system happened when I was doing a workshop talk. I had asked them to, do you mind just recording this? It was more of a group discussion. And when I went back and listened to the tape, I went, oh my God, that's my system. It's like I didn't even know it. It was just out there. And so it's really important to look at what it is that you're doing. And like you said your brand landed on you, and I guess it landed on me as well. It's already there. You don't have to create it.
Yeah, it's just and the to your point, Melissa, it's about having tangibles. It's about having real tangibles that you can express to your marketplace out there. And that's the trust factor. You know, I think that a lot of people that are new in the business, and this is very organic for them, is that they don't have their tangibles yet because they're trying to figure out like how to work with clients, what works the best way with clients, that kind of thing. But when you're in about year 3, it's all about the tangibles. And when you're year 3, 4, 5, and on, it's got to be hardcore tangibles because you're also raising your value prices because your hourly rate's gone up. It just naturally has. So people want to know, what am I going to get for this? And I need to really know. It's different when you're starting out and your price points are a little low. But when you start getting to the real price point of your Melissa's value, right? You got to hand people some real tangibles in order for them to say to your ideal client to know that they're right for you and for them to say yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think at every step you said, you know, the title, the expertise, the system, going back to who is it that you want to work for, and giving them that solid information that this is what you do.
Yeah, I really landed on that for me in January. It wasn't until January I really landed on it. Because what I realized is that again, I mean I did like a 360. I was like again loved my clients before, but I was like no. I'm like I'm working with people that are of service. I'm working with women entrepreneurs, and that's the drum I'm going to drum in because I want to help them find their systems. I want to help them to expand in their companies and really get the kind of success that they're looking for because they're of service. And that's me being of service. So yeah, your ideal client, you really want to start drumming that drum as soon as you know, as early as you can. I had one unideal client, and it almost took down my whole company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can be a distraction. I know somebody had told me they do PITA fees for typical clients. I don't know if you've heard of a PITA fee before. It's the pain in the ass fee that they put on. But if it is that, you're not, number one, you're not enjoying it. You know, it's probably more difficult, and you're not servicing them how they need to be serviced. So I think being able to say no to the wrong people is important.
Yeah, and listen, one unideal client can equal up to 6 ideal clients for you. The ideal client, a lot of times, will throw down a lot of cash flow. Okay, And so there's got to be a moment where you're like, one ideal client, it can equal six ideal clients where my brand is expanding and they're cheerleading me and they're really supporting me, because it's a back and forth process, right? In the process, versus one unideal client that can literally take up all your energy and can almost close your doors. I literally took over 6 months off after my one unideal client, because I was so exhausted by their experience, and I needed to completely rethink my brand. And it made me go inward and really take some deep looks at me, Joey. And I knew moving forward that that would never happen again, because I will say, I will be, first of all, I don't drum in an ideal client anymore. It'd be impossible. Because once they hear of me and once they hear about my system, they're not interested. They're not going to be interested in me anymore, because they're looking more for a factory to turn things out. An ad agency.
Exactly. So your system's giving the clarity to attract the right client. Yeah. And going back to your steps, after you talk to them about that system, after you get clearer upon that, what's the next step to take?
So the next step is you got to explain to people what kind of results they might get by working with you. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense to them. So I let people know, I'm like, after we're done with the system, I help make people bigger superstars in the field. That's what I do. And so I let them know that. And I'm very proud of that. And I'll have clients say, yeah, but, I'm like, you have to be incredibly transparent and authentic about this. So, but you also have to be able to stand in your own spotlight as well. I mean, Melissa, you know how many people you've helped. You know what your system does for people. You know how successful the kind of outcome it has for people. Maybe not exactly that way, of course not, because we customize for everyone. But you still have to be proud to stand in it and tell people, listen, I'm a game changer for you. This is what my system does.
And going to that, I know that's very difficult for a lot of people to look at the results. Either they're afraid of making promises or afraid of having an inflated ego. And it's really much more of, if you weren't getting results, why would you be doing it? Right?
You probably don't have a system. You're definitely in the wrong career path. Take another one. Absolutely. But if you're an expert and you're doing your job and you're really showing up for that client, you're going to have results. You're just going to.
Absolutely. And I like to think of it as gifts. If results is maybe a scary word, it's your gifts. It's what you're able to give back, what people are able to walk away with. And sometimes, getting out of the salesy terms can help people embrace it more.
Yeah, of course. And listen, that's another thing too. And I'm going to talk about the last step. Make it your own. Make it your own. It's got to be your unique you. So you want to take step 1 through 4, and you want to be practicing them all the time. But you got to make it your own. You have to wear it, and it shouldn't come off like it's a pitch, because it's not. It's actually who you are, how you're showing up in the world, what your business is delivering, how you're delivering your business. That should be easy. Once you lay it out, it should just roll right off your tongue. And what I also tell people too is, when know your audience. Like when I'm sitting at a dinner party, and I know I'm going to be sitting there next to someone for over an hour, maybe 2 hours, depending on how fabulous the dinner party sit down is. I'm not going, when they ask me what I do, I leave it at, you know what, I'm a brand strategist, because I know over 2 hours, I'm also a 3-dimensional person. And by the end of the 2 hours, they're going to have a much bigger picture of me. So I don't just blurt it all out right there. Because I am 3-dimensional. I love tennis. I love golf. I love wine. I love wine country. I have a lot of interests I want to talk about. But what I also know is that I want them to emotionally connect with me and get to know me first, and then I start laying out more and more and more of you could call it a pitch, but at dinner party it's really just a conversation.
Well, and I would say, going back to the word pitch, is that it is, to me, it's always a conversation. That's how I make it unique to me or personal to me, is that I do have a negative viewpoint on the whole sales world, but I have learned that if you think of it as a conversation, that you're sharing yourself, how you help people, and what they walk away with, you're not selling, you're sharing. And so at a dinner party, it's very low key. You're sharing about yourself, and why should it be any different at a networking event? As long as you have the clarity.
Being proud of what you're doing, being proud of who you are, because again, your brand is just an extension of you. That's all it is. So I don't believe there's a difference between your personal and professional brand. I believe that they're all one. And so when you reframe it like that, when I reframe it for my clients and they get it, they're like, oh, there's just this relief with them. And they're just like, I could just walk through the world and just talk about me and like what I'm passionate about and how much I love it and, you know, the results I'm getting. And I said, yeah, that's all it is. It's nothing more than that.
Exactly.
And I'm like, just go with that and make it unique and just, you know thyself. Keep working on yourself, because as you get more comfortable with yourself, guess what? Your company and your brand gets more comfortable with you, and so does the marketplace, because you get more confident.
Well, this is great. We've managed to eat up our whole time together, but I do want to make sure that people know. We always talk way too long. But I want to make sure that people know how to get in touch with you. What's the best way for them to reach to learn more about your system and creating their professional pitch?
So they can reach out at 113branding.com. I also have a really great growing, I have over 2,000 members right now on Facebook group. It's called Professional Branding for Business Women. Please join. It's a way where you guys can share your events, your products, your services, get to know and connect with each other. I love that group. And they can also contact me at 113branding@gmail.com.
Fabulous. And I am a member of your Facebook group, and it is a very lively discussion on there. There's some wonderful people that contribute. So besides Joie's information that she shares, there's a great dialogue that happens in that group. So I highly recommend it. And if you'd like to ask Joie questions, obviously you can go to that group, or feel free to give some thoughts and questions on the show at facebook.com/theempowermentshow, and we'll make sure Joie can respond to you. But thank you so much for being on the show again. There was a whole mess of other information we were going to touch on. You have such a wealth of information and expertise that we need to share, because you're helping so many people like myself, and I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Melissa. It's an honor and privilege. Appreciate it.
Join Melissa Heisler next week right here at The Empowerment Show. Join the conversation at facebook.com/theempowermentshow or twitter.com/empowermentshow.